Hi guys, this is the last video of this section. It's just an explanation of the revision exercise memo that I gave you. So if you had any questions, then this is the right video. Okay, so this is the first thing I gave you to do. So convert 0,066 meters squared to millimeters squared. Okay, so let's just ignore the squares for a minute and imagine I'm only converting meters to millimeters. Alright, I know that if I'm converting meters to millimeters, I just times by 1,000 because there's 1,000 millimeters in a meter. Okay, so if I want to convert meters squared to millimeters squared, I need to times by 1,000 squared. That's it. Right, then it said determine the diameter of the circle with an area of 121 centimeters squared. Okay, so I would start by just saying, well, what's the formula for the area of a circle? Okay, area is equal to pi times radius squared. Okay, I don't know what the radius is, but I do know the area, so I can substitute it in, 121. Then, I need to somehow get that radius squared by itself. I'm saying pi times radius. So, in order to get the radius squared by itself, I would divide through by pi, and then if I do that, on this side pi cancels with pi, on this side 121 divided by pi will give me 38,515496, etc. Alright, then I'm going to try and keep as many decimals as possible, and I'm going to square root that to get the radius by itself. So if I square root that long number, I'm going to get 6,21 centimeters. Okay, so now I've rounded off. But they're not asking for the radius, they're asking for the diameter. So I know that the diameter is equal to 2 times the radius. So 2 times 6,21, which will give me 12,42. Alright, then you have to do number 3. So number 3 looked like this. It said the wall of the side of a house is shown in the diagram. Calculate the area A of the wall. Okay, so basically calculate the area. If I split the shape up, I've got one rectangle and I've got one triangle. Okay, I know that the base of the triangle is equal to 6. Because the base of the triangle is the same length as the length of the rectangle. Okay, so all I've done is I've just said, well, those opposite sides are the same. Alright, I can first start by calculating the area of the rectangle because I have enough information. I've got the length and the breadth. Alright, so if I say length times breadth, 6 times 3 is 18 meters squared. Then I need to work inside the triangle, right? But I know that the area of the triangle is equal to half of the base times the height, and I don't have the height. Okay, so somehow I first need to get the height. Alright, so if I drop a perpendicular from that point, because it's an isosceles triangle, I know that the one triangle will be equal to the other triangle. And I also know that this length will be equal to this length. Okay, so they both will be equal to 3. Because I know the entire length is equal to 6, so 3 plus 3 will give me 6. Alright, so I can work out the height here now using Pythag. Okay, so if you cover this left-hand side triangle, I know that the hypotenuse, 5 squared, will be equal to 3 squared plus height squared. Pythag. Alright, that will give me, so 3 squared gives me 9, 5 squared gives me 25. I need to get the height squared alone, so I'm going to take the 9 over and subtract, which will give me 16, and if I square root that, I'm going to get 4. Okay, so I know that my height is equal to 4. So now I can calculate the area of that triangle. So the area of the triangle is a half base times height. So my base is 6 and my height, which I've already calculated, is 4. And if you find that out, you're going to get 12. And then they still want the whole area. Okay, so the total area will be the area of the rectangle plus the area of the triangle. So 18 plus 12. And you should have got your total area to be 30 meters squared. Alright, then number 6. Okay, number 6 looked like this. It said a church window consists of a blue semicircular section above a clear rectangular section as shown in the diagram. Okay, so this whole thing is the window. They want you to calculate the area and they want you to calculate the perimeter. Alright, so I'm just going to split these two up for a second. Okay, so I'm going to move my little semicircle up. I know that this part of a semicircle, so the diameter, is equal to 2 meters. okay, because it's the same as that length of the rectangle. So this length of the rectangle is 2, which means that this part of the semicircle must also be 2. Alright, so if my diameter is equal to 2, the radius will be half of that. So you should have found your radius to be 1. Okay, so I'm first going to calculate the area of the rectangle. I don't know why I put, I'm calculating the whole thing, but I'm going to start with the rectangle. Okay, so the area of the rectangle is length times breadth, which is 3 times 2, which is 6 meters squared. Right, then the area of the semicircle. Okay, I know that usually the area of a circle is pi r squared, so I'm just going to divide it by 2. So the area of the semicircle will be pi r squared divided by 2. My radius I'm going to substitute as 1, so pi times 1 squared divided by 2, and that will give me 1,57. Okay, so that means I can calculate the total area by just adding the 2 together. So the total area is the area of the rectangle plus the area of the semicircle, which will give me 7,57 meters squared. Okay, so I've calculated the area of the window. Now I need to calculate the perimeter. Okay, so I'm trying to calculate the perimeter, so I'm going to put them back together. Alright, my perimeter, remember, is only the outside of the shape. Okay, so if I trace it, it's only the red part. That's what you're trying to calculate. Alright, I know that if this side here is equal to 3 meters, the other side is also equal to 3 meters because they're parallel to each other. Okay, so I already know a whole bunch of my perimeter. I know that I can say already the perimeter is equal to 3 plus 2 plus 3. Okay, this part I'm not sure about. Okay, so this is the circumference of a semicircle, so basically half of the circumference of a normal circle. So I can work that out. I know that the circumference usually is 2 pi r. So now I'm just going to say 2 pi r divided by 2. Okay, so there it is there. 2 pi r divided by 2. My radius, I've already said, is equal to 1, so I can substitute that in. So 2 pi times 1 divided by 2. If you put that in your calculator, you're just going to get pi. Alright, so this little part of my circumference, that's equal to pi. Okay, so I'm going to put that into my formula here. So my total perimeter will be 3 plus 3 plus 2 plus pi. And if you put that in and then you press your SD button to get it in decimal notation, you're going to get 11,14 meters. Alright, so we've calculated the area and perimeter. And then the last one that you had to do was number 8. Okay, number 8 looked like this. So it says the kite in the diagram has an area that's equal to 60. Okay, so you're going to have to use that area to work out something. Okay, they want you to calculate the perimeter. Okay, that's tricky because I don't have this length, I don't have that length, I basically have none of the perimeter lengths. I also am missing this part of the diagonal. Okay, if this is 3, I know that a kite it's got like a mirror image, so I know that a kite, this part of the diagonal is equal to that part of the diagonal because this diagonal AC bisects the kite. Alright, I would say fill in what you know. Okay, so you know that this part here is equal to 3, so I'm going to fill that in. This part of the diagonal I don't know, I'm going to call that x. Okay, they've given me my area, which means I have to somehow use my area formula. Okay, I know that the area formula of a kite is equal to a half of the one diagonal times the other diagonal. Okay, so let me just fill in on this formula what I have. I have my area, so A is equal to 60. I have the one diagonal, okay, so 3 plus 3, which is 6. The other diagonal I don't have, but I know that part of it is 16, and the other part I don't know, so I'm just going to say 16 plus x. Okay, so that's what I filled in here. Okay, so diagonal 1 is 6, diagonal 2 is 16 plus x, the area is 60. Now I can simplify the formula. So a half of 6, that will give me 3. I'm saying 3 times this bracket, so if I want to take this 3 over, I'm going to divide, so 60 divided by 3, which will give me 20. Now I can get x alone, so I'm going to take the 16 over and subtract, which will give me x equals 4 centimeters. Alright, so I know that this part here is 4 centimeters, so I know that full diagonal now, and I know that full diagonal. Okay, now because I've got that, I can work and try and see if I can figure out the lengths of the outside of my kite. Alright, so this part here I can work out. So x is equal to 4, right? So 4 squared plus 3 squared is equal to AD squared because of Pythag. And if you use Pythag to work out AD squared, you're going to say you're going to get it to equal 25, and then if you square root that, you're going to get 5 centimeters. Alright, and if this part is 5 centimeters, I know that AB will also be 5 centimeters because the adjacent sides of a kite are equal. Then I do the same thing for this side. Okay, again I have a right angle triangle here that I can use. So I'm going to say DC squared is equal to 3 squared plus 16 squared. And then if you work that out, you're going to get square root of 265, which I'm just going to leave in surd form for now because I don't want to mess up all my decimals. Okay, so if I leave it in surd, it preserves all the decimals. I'll only round off right at the end when I add up all my perimeter lengths. Okay. Alright, so I know that if this is 5, that's equal to 5. And I know that if this is a square root of 265, then that is also square root of 265. So now I have all my outside lengths, so I can work out the perimeter. Okay, so my perimeter will be equal to all of the outside lengths. So if I substitute that in, that's what I'm going to have. And if I calculate that and I press my SD button to get it in decimal form, you should have got 42,56 centimeters. Alright, that's the end of area and perimeter. If you have any questions, then just let us know, and I can always do a separate video for something that you didn't understand.